Hello everyone. Thought I would give you all a quick little sneak peek of what I've been chipping away at lately. So I've been doing a bit of a sketch of the Pantheon in Rome. And this is just a personal project. I'm really glad to be getting back into my own personal projects after teaching for most of the year. But yeah, this is like a architectural sort of geometric sketch. So basically I'm just trying to find the hidden geometry behind the design of the Pantheon. And I chose this building because it's one of my favorite buildings. I visited this place back in 2019 on my travels in Italy. And yeah, I love this building to bits. I love the design of it. I love how simple yet elegant it is. It's just really one of my favorite pieces of architecture, to be honest. And so basically I've been trying to kind of reverse engineer the design of the Pantheon just using geometry. So I'm not doing like measured drawings and I'm not just copying or transferring measurements from one drawing into another. Like I'm actually trying to draw an accurate portrayal of the building just using sacred geometry, which a lot of Roman architects did, or not just Roman, a lot of architects in the ancient times, Middle Eastern, medieval, they all did it. And I'm not suggesting that this is the design that they used, but it is one that I've sort of stumbled across as I was searching for it. And I thought, this is pretty cool. So I thought I'd just go ahead and share with you all what I found. So basically, if you have a look on this side, so this drawing is by Piranesi. And I chose his drawing because out of all of them, this one has seemed to be the most accurate. There was another good one by, I think it was Palladio. There was another good one by George Chardin. Also, he's like a French architect, turn of the century. Very good draftsman. But I went with Piranesi's because he's got all the measurements in place. So this is like a measured drawing that he did. And you can see that this is like a section view. But his drawing was pretty accurate. When I put all the architect's sketches together, Piranesi's was pretty much bang on, I thought. So I thought I would go with his. And I came across a few interesting developments. And it seems like the Pantheon is basically based on an equilateral triangle. I know there's a lot of other shapes in there, like there's the circular shape of the dome, and it's got like a square base. But, if you go from wall to wall, top to bottom, you actually get an equilateral triangle. And the way you can actually test that, I'm just going to grab a compass. Just going to open my little set of tools. There we go. Get that out of the way. Go with this one. All right. Okay, so I'm going to place this divider, one end of it on this point, and the other one is going to go towards the top there. So I've got one point there, one on there, and if you inscribe an arc, it will hit that point right there. Now, if I rest that point in that corner and inscribe an arc from this way, that meets the top. And then once is that on the top? Yep, there we go. And if you inscribe another arc, so you can see it's equal on all sides. So that's a great way to know if it's an equilateral triangle, and indeed it is. So that's quite helpful to know because that gives us a solid proportion to work with. It means that we know the biggest measurement, the width and the height, and by knowing that, we can work from larger to smaller, which is the ideal way to work. You don't really want to work from small to large because you're very prone to making mistakes when you do that. You'll notice that there's these little protrusions on the edges. We don't really count those, okay? So when we're measuring the width, really just measuring where the outer wall is, okay? Any of these little details you're free to ignore, but we will obviously draw them later. In this sketch here, don't know where I drew it exactly, but there was like a neat little geometric trick to find the measurement of those. I'll have to kind of retrace my steps. There's a lot of lines, so it gets a bit confusing. But that's why I do this, so I can search for the basic structure and then work my way down from there. So, okay, so we've got the height and we've got the width, but now we just need everything else. So from there, you'll inscribe a box around your triangle. And then what I did, you can see here's the geometric schematic over here. But I like to find the center of the box by basically reversing that equilateral triangle. So if I draw a line from this corner at the top here, all the way to the bottom center, I'm going to do the same on the other side. So from the point in the center of the bottom all the way to that top corner there, that's basically just the triangle reversed, so it's pointing down. And then what you'll do is you'll draw, let me move that out of the way. You can draw a horizontal line through that, which I've already drawn in pencil, but I'm going to go over it in ink. And you're just kind of looking for the intersections there. And so have a look. That's about it. This point seems a little bit lower. But they should actually be even. But I drew over it earlier, and the center pretty much lies there. Okay? Let me redraw that. Maybe just thicken that up a little bit, just to make it a bit more visible. So this is, I suppose, what you would call the equator of the building, since it's like right in the middle of it. And you can see that that equator basically separates this bottom portion from the dome. Okay? So that's another interesting proportion to note. So at that point, you'd probably want to find where, can't find the words today, but you would probably want to find this inner portion of the Pantheon, okay? So like this massive dome, like the interior of it. And this was pretty interesting, actually. I'm gonna just quickly draw a line down the center of the building, because that's very important. You want to know where the center lies. So I'll just draw a line through the middle, from top to bottom, like so. And so we've got that center mark right there. But yeah, finding the proportion of the interior from here was pretty tricky to find, actually, but I did discover a pretty neat geometric trick to do it. There was actually a couple I discovered, so I'll show you the process of that. But basically what it is you have to draw a line from either corner of the box. Okay, so you're going from corner to corner. Oh my God, I still got a blocked nose from being sick last week, so it's really annoying. I'm just making sure that's perfectly aligned. And that's the thing, when you do these drawings you want to make sure that your set square, or whatever it is, your ruler, is perfectly aligned, because if it's not, you can end up with some very serious mistakes in the drawing. And that's why doing these kinds of geometric drawings are really hard, because the slightest mistake can lead to very large errors. And that's not what I need right now, especially now that I'm going over it with pen. Every mark I place is permanent. Okay, so there we go. So I basically, you know, you can see how those lines cross at the center, because that's what happens in geometry. You know, when diagonal lines cross over each other from corner to corner, it finds the vertical and horizontal centers. So that's like bang in the middle right there. Now, as to how I found the inside wall, that was a pretty neat trick. I am going to need to find a compass where I can put my pen inside of. Oh God, I should have prepared this earlier. Let me use a different compass. I'm gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way. Let's go with this one. This will do. And basically, how I use this is I fill this bit with ink. So this is like, it's kind of like tweezers, and you can actually adjust the thickness of the line by twisting this little knob here. So you can see how that's opening, and then it closes. So it's an old-fashioned compass, but it's really good for doing fine work. I'm gonna need ink, so let's grab this jar. We'll leave that there. And, oh my God, it's really hot today. I need to get an AC inside of the studio. All right, I'm gonna take a brush. This is like the old-fashioned way of inking things in, which I actually really enjoy. It's time-consuming though. You're basically just brushing in that ink in the ruling pen right there, okay? And I'm just gonna wipe off the excess with my finger. My hands are clean, so no grease should get onto that. And there you go. Let me move that out of the way. I really don't feel like spilling ink all over my drawing. Okay, so what I did to find this proportion was I'm going to place the needle on here. It's really difficult to see the center right now because there's just a big blob of ink right there, and I'm going to find the top center there. So I'm just opening the compass up. And I'm inscribing a line. Oh God, hang on. Let me close that a bit. That just made a mess of everything. So from the top, I'm just gonna go for it. So I'm just inscribing a line on the top of the triangle. I think I just missed it. I think I was meant to open that up a bit more. Well, that made a mess of things, but that's basically the idea. Anyway, I actually tested this on these drawings as well, and it seemed to line up perfectly. But you'll see, I'm just gonna move that there, where that arc from the top hits this diagonal line and this diagonal line, that creates the inside wall. So if I drop a vertical line from that point, you can see how my set square is aligned with that inside wall right there, okay? So I'm just gonna draw a line, and I'm gonna draw a line through the entire drawing just to demonstrate that. So you can see how that intersection creates that. Let's do it on the other side. My tripod is in the way, so let me use a shorter one. Here we go. Here we go, that's a bit better. If my big fat head is in the way, then I apologize. But there's nothing I can do about it, so. All right. Just draw a line through there, and there you go, boom. That creates that proportion of the inside wall. So far, we've got the bottom, the width, the top, and we've got the inside proportion here. So, how do you find the floor? Okay, so this is like the base of the entire building. This part is the bit that's pretty much underground, right? But this bit up here, that's the floor of the building. So that's obviously what people will be walking on. So how do you find that? And again, really pretty simple trick. So if you have a look on this sketch that I did here, I'm just going to close that. So if you draw another diagonal line from this bottom corner to where the triangles intersect on this side at the halfway point, okay, so you're going to get that. And then you're going to do it on the other side. And then where that vertical line that we just placed actually intersects with those diagonals, right? So I'll show that to you. So let's line that up there. So you can see that from corner to that intersection at the halfway mark where the triangles intersect. And you can see how the vertical line intersects right there. So you'll see it. Place this on both sides. It's a really cool piece of geometry, honestly. And then so that vertical line that you just drew intersects with that diagonal line right there, which if you place a horizontal line from that point, finds the floor of the building, which I thought was pretty cool. Boom, just like that. Okay, so hopefully you're all following me so far. Now, let's talk about the dome, because from this point you might be tempted to center your compass in the middle of the entire building and then just inscribe an arc that way. And I think that would be incorrect, because I found that it is a semicircle, obviously, we can see that, but this point right here is not, it seems to me that that's not the center of the dome, right? That's not where the center of your compass should be. It seems to me that it's actually placed a little bit higher. And so there's another problem that we need to figure out, because we need to figure out, okay, well, how do we find that point? How do we get to that? And you can even see it. You can see how the height from this point to this point, and if you go from this point to the edge of the wall here, it's not quite square. It's almost square, but it's not quite. And, you know, again, you can easily test that with a compass. If I center it on here, place that point there, and if I inscribe an arc, you can see it's not following the edge of the dome. It doesn't reach. So that's a bit of a bummer, because, you know, we want to find that out. The center is actually, if I find where that hole is, pretty much about here. If I line that up there with the edge of the wall, that follows the edge of the dome. It's actually just a little bit wider. But that pretty much follows the edge of the dome right there. So the question is, okay, how do we find that point? And it was very tricky to find, but if you have a look at this sketch, you'll notice that I've inscribed an arc from this point and that point. And I centered the compass on the top point of the triangle there. And then from that center line, inscribed an arc. You'll notice that there are 5 smaller circles that fit within the total height of the chamber. Okay? So, you know, from top to bottom, there's 5 circles that fit inside of the interior of the dome. And so if I center my compass on this point and inscribe an arc, I find where the bottom of this circle and the top of this circle actually meet. These diagonal lines here, so the halfway point of this box also locates the position of this bottom circle and the top circle there, where they meet there. And then so what you could do theoretically is you could inscribe that arc, find the center of this bottom half, and then you found the proportion of that circle, and then you simply duplicate that circle 4 times, 3 on this side, 1 on this side, and simply inscribe an arc around the total area of the height. So you could do that. Another way, it's actually on this drawing now, because there was another way that I figured this out. And I'm going to use my compass here. So I'm going to place that needle on that point. And wait a minute. No, actually, no, that wasn't it. Now I'm lost. No, I'm a bit confused. No, I think that is pretty much how I did it. I don't think there was any other way, really. Oh no, actually, I think I just found it. If I place it on the center of the floor and have a look there, yeah, but that doesn't actually tell me, because then I have to find that point. So I've obviously just confused myself. Let's go with this method. Let's go with this, because I can demonstrate this. I'm pretty sure there was another way, but I've already forgotten how I did it, so that's just great. But hey, that's what happens when you overload your drawing full of lines, right? You start to lose your sense of direction, really. All right, well, let's go with the bit that I talked about initially. So let's just find that point there. And let's open up this compass on that point there. I don't think that's quite centered. All right. I'm just going to inscribe that arc right there. I'm going to go over that a couple of times. There we go. I'm not a fan of doing it this way. That's why I'm trying to find another way of doing it, because anything with compasses and circles, it tends to get, like the slightest mistake can really throw you off. And I know this method does work, but you have to be extremely precise with it. Because even if you're off by even a fraction of a millimeter, then it doesn't work. And that's the problem with this method, but I'll see if I can be as precise as possible. I've tested it a few times, so I know that it does work, but let's see if I can pull it off today. Just gonna line that up there, and that one goes up there. Crosses through that center there, okay. All right, so I've got that point. So if we have a look, this point here, and that point there should be the height of our circle. So you need to find the center of that. Let's grab that compass again. So probably use a smaller compass for this, but yeah, and I can see that it doesn't quite line up where it was meant to go. So I probably should have lifted the compass up a little bit more, but anyway, we can work with this. Okay, there's one. And then, see, I can already see the holes where I've already put my last marks in there, so I'll just follow those. But you're going to want to find the position of the centers. So, and to do that, you basically put the needle on the top of the circle and then place your mark down there. And that's where you find the center for the next circle. That's basically the logic. So, oh, I ran out of ink. Okay, that was quick. Let's just refill that. But yeah, I've been testing all of this geometry on Piranesi's drawing, and yeah, so far so good. Oh, that just slipped off. There we go. But yeah, that method you have to be really, really precise with. You have to be really precise with that, otherwise it's just simply not going to work. So, but you can see it does seem to fit. So you got 5 circles that are tangent with each other, which basically describes the entire height of the interior. And so then what you would do from that point is you would grab your compass, find the center of the middle circle, because that's going to be the center of the entire dome. Okay? So if I inscribe an arc from the top to the edge, pretty much find it. Just a little bit off there, but that's probably because I didn't center the compass correctly. But that's not too shabby. And then to find the outer perimeter of the dome, this bit's pretty easy actually. You can center your compass again, and you're going to pop the pointy bit on at the very top there, and you can inscribe an arc. So you can see how that touches the very top of the box. And I'm keeping the compass centered right on the center of the dome right there. Just let that trail off. But there you go. So I'm going to keep chipping away at this, see if I can discover anything else and see if I can find some different ways of solving some of those problems. But eventually I would like to do more of a close-up view of some of the details. So like I would do a separate drawing of just the dome with all of the details in place. But yeah, that's what I've been chipping away at lately. And all of those proportions seem to be working in order. But yeah, I'm going to keep figuring out if there's maybe a better way to do it. But so far, this has been pretty promising. So I'm going to keep it up.